Hi everyone, welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. Today we'll be learning how to draft a straight bustier with an illusion. That's a yoke at the neckline. This illusion means a yoke at the neckline, and the yoke is going to be a deep sweetheart neckline. Okay, I'll be using this lace fabric to achieve the yoke part of this bustier, and then I'll be using this Ankara fabric to achieve the bustier. That's the straight bustier. So to get started, I'll be drafting directly on my pattern paper, and before we go ahead to transfer to fabric. So I have my pattern paper already, and then the measurements needed to achieve this bustier is the shoulder measurement. Here we have 16, the bust measurement we have 38, the underbust is 32, the waist measurement is 34, and then the half length, that's the front half length, is 16 inches, the back half length is 14 inches, the shoulder to nipple point is 10 inches, and then the shoulder to underbust is 13 inches. Basically, these are the measurements we need to achieve this straight bustier. Okay, so I have my lines already drawn out. So this is my starting line, which is the shoulder line. I've gone ahead to mark my 3 inches, 8 inches to achieve my shoulder slant. So I came down here by 1 inch to achieve my shoulder slant. We know that our shoulders are not straight. So what did I do? I marked 3 inches and then I marked 8 inches. At the 8 inches, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. So from shoulder to bust point, this is 10 inches. Like I said, this is the person's measurement, 10 inches. To underbust, 13.5. And then to the half length is 16 inches. Okay, so now I'll get the armhole of this person. So from this point is where I'll be coming down to get the armhole of the person. The bust measurement is what we're going to use to get the armhole. The bust measurement is 38. You're going to divide it by 6 plus 1.5. So 38 divided by 6 plus 1.5 will give me 8 inches. So I'm going to mark my 8 inches here. And then I'll go ahead to bring this same 8 inches here. That's the same 8 inches I have here. That's the shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll bring it here. The shoulder is 16. When you divide it by 2, you have 8 inches. So that's what I'm bringing down here to achieve a straight line. So here is the chest line, which is also referred to as the armhole line. So I'm going to label this. This is the bust point line. That's the BL. This is on the bust, and then the waist line. Okay, so now, and then I have my armhole line, which is also the chest line, so I'll just label it as CL. Okay, so to get started, I'll be entering the nipple to nipple measurement. The distance from one bust point to the other is the nipple to nipple measurement. In this case, this person's measurement is 8 inches, and when you divide it by 2, it will give you 4 inches. So of course, this is on fold. This is our center front, so this is on fold. So that is why I'm dividing it, but I'm placing this 4 inches here. So 4 inches, I'll mark it on the bust point, and then I'll go ahead to mark it on the under bust point and do the same on the waistline. Okay, so I'll connect my lines like this. So I'll come to the armhole line now at the armhole area to eliminate bulge around the armhole, because the shoulder measurement is not the same thing as the mid part of the armhole. So to eliminate bulge, this is our front piece. Remember that it's our bust here. So the front piece, I'll get the midpoint of the armhole, which is 4 inches. And then I'll go in by 3/4 of an inch. So this is me going in by 3/4 of an inch to eliminate bulge around the armhole area. You don't want to have gathering there. So I'm connecting it back to the shoulder line. And then I'll bring in my curve to curve it in like this. Okay, so having done that, now come here to the bust line. Remember, we are doing a straight bust here. Okay, so the bust measurement that we're working with is 9.5 because it's 38. When we divide it by 4, that's 9.5. I'll mark my 9.5 here. So this is our 9.5. So now to determine the dart intake for the underbust and the waist point, you're going to be using the difference between the underbust and the bust. The difference between the bust and the underbust. So right now for this bust, the bust is 38, When you divide by 4, you have your 9.5. Then the underbust is 32. When you divide it by 4, you have 8 inches. So of course, 9.5 minus 8 inches, that will give you 1.5. So that will determine my dart intake. So I'm going to be marking 1.5 on this side. And then I'll come here too to mark the same 1.5. Okay, so I'll connect the line like this to be straight. So I'll come to this side. I'm going to be marking the same 1.5 and the same 1.5 here. Okay, so I have this. So I've taken my darts on both sides. Okay, I'll come down at the bust point and mark 1/2 inch. And then place my curve like so to connect it. So the same 1/2 inch I came down, I'll place it this way to also connect it. This is an illustration where you are padding your bustier. So you want to do this so that it gives the bust a very nice lift. So using the difference between the bust and the underbust just gives you that fit because you're using the person's measurement. You can't be, sometimes we can't say, okay, I'm going to use 1 inch or for this person. Just use the difference. It will give you a perfect finish that you are looking for. So now I want to get the upper chest line. So right now, the distance from the bust point to the underbust, can you see, is 3.5. My bust point, the bust point is 10 inches. The underbust point is 13.5. So the distance is, the distance is 3.5. So to get the upper chest, I'll be adding 1/2 inch to that difference, which has given me 4 inches. So here now is the upper chest line. So I'm going to mark that line out. So this is the upper chest line. So you want to also tighten the upper chest or the upper bust. So I'll come here and mark that 4 inches, which is the distance from one nipple to the other. So 4 inches. So I'm connecting my line from the bust point to the upper chest. So can you see what we have here? So I will come here now to this part and I will take 1/2 inch on the left and then I'll do the same on the right. Okay, so this 1/2 inch is just okay for your tightening, except if you want, maybe if you are making a tube, then you can do 3/4 on both sides so that is very tight. Okay, so I will come up at the bust point like I did at the for the other, that's for the under the bust. What I did now, I'll go up by the same 1/2 inch like I did here too. Then I'll place my curve. And see, I'm not using my armhole curve. I'm using the curved part of my pattern master. So I'll just place it like this and connect it. Can you see how I'm doing that? So I'll do the same thing for this side. Okay, you see? So I've taken my dart at the upper bust and I've also done the same thing at the under bust. Like I earlier said, for this part, you can do 3/4 inch, but it depends on what you want to achieve. You don't want to tighten this place too much. Remember that I'll be attaching a yoke. So the yoke is going to be a deep sweetheart neckline. I'm going to be coming down from the shoulder line by 8.5. So I'm going to mark my 8.5 here. So this is 8.5 here. Okay, here's our 8.5. So at the armhole area, this part, I'll be coming down by 4 inches, which is the mid part of the armhole. I'll come down by 4 inches. So I'll bring in my curve like this and then connect it from these 4 inches to connect to the 8.5. Okay, so this is how the yoke will be. So can you see? So you need to extend now. I need to extend this line to touch this point. That's to touch this line here. So this is it. So this is my yoke. So I'm going to label it yoke. So I'm going to be coming down by 3 inches for my neckline, 3 inches for the width, and then 3 inches also for the depth. So just come with my curved bag armhole curve on my curve ruler and then draw my neckline or the neckline. Okay, so this is it. So now at the bust point, we're going to come here now to enter our measurements. The bust measurement is 9.5. So here is our 9.5. The under bust measurement is 32. When you divide 32 by 4, this is where you have your 8 because that's your answer. So you come here now, the dart intake, everything we have taken away from here is 3 inches. You have to come back and replace the same 3 inches. So the waist measurement is 34. When you divide it by 4, you have your 8.5. Of course, what we have taken away from here is the same 3 inches. So we'll come back here and replace the same 3 inches. So here is our 3 inches. So I'm going to connect it, the waist to the under bust. So now to the bust point. So can you see it's just like it's looking like a slanted line. Don't worry yourself because of that intake. By the time we sew it in, by the time we cut out our dart, everything will balance up. So now to take our bust dart, remember that the front and back are not the same. The front half length is 16, while the back half length is 14.5. What is the cause of this difference? Is because of the bust. So of course we're going to have to take our bust dart. So we'll come here to the bust line like this, and then I'll mark 1.5 here. So when you mark your 1.5, this is what you will have. So I'll come out here and just do this line, that's from the bust line like this, and connect it, and then I'll also do the same for this part. This is so that when I am done, I'll take out my difference. Okay, so I'll connect it this way. So now I'll go ahead to cut out. So before we go ahead to cut out, we're going to be replacing our darts just like we replaced for the under bust and the waist dart. So we have to come here and replace the dart that we're taking away at the upper chest. And here we took away 1 inch. So we'll come back here and replace the same 1 inch. So we'll be replacing it from this point here. So we'll come here and mark that 1 inch. Can you see I'm placing my tape from the curve of the armhole? So I'll come here. So this is our 1 inch here. So that means this line has to extend this way. Okay. So now this is now the new armhole. So this is now our new armhole. So this part will be cut out. This part will be ignored because this is no longer the armhole. This is now the new armhole because of this dart that was taken here. You have to replace it. Remember that we'll be sewing the down part, that's the bustier, together and then joining it to this. So if you don't replace back this, there's going to be a shortage. So now we are done with this. We're going to go ahead and cut our pattern out. So I'll be starting with the yoke. So this is how I'm going to cut out my yoke. Can you see? I cut out from the curve and then I'm cutting out the shoulder slant. I'll go ahead to cut out the neckline. Okay. Okay. So we have this. So I'll come here now. So before we cut out our dart, remember that we're going to be sewing these two parts together. So because we're going to be sewing them together, let me close my dart so that we'll understand what I'm trying to say. By the time you sew them together, can you see that the side piece is longer than the center piece? So I need to through this center piece to make sure that it is complete. So I'm going to be placing another piece of paper under to blend up the line so that they are equal. So I've attached a piece of paper at the back. So this is just all that is needed. You just gum your paper at the back. So here now I'm going to bring this part like this together, the bust dart and the upper bust dart together, and then I'll bring in my curve and blend the line. And you see I'm going to blend it into this part. This is just where we have the issue because we want them to be equal. We're going to sew them together. So this is what we need. So it has been blended into the previous, that's into the sweetheart shape. So now I'll go ahead and cut out that. So I'm cutting out the side piece. So I'll come here too and cut out the second dart leg. So I removed my darts, can you see? So that by the time I sew them together from this bust point to this part, can you see that they are going to match up? You don't want to have any shortage around there, okay? So now I'll come here now to cut out this side. So I'm cutting the new armhole now. So just come out a little from this side, and then I'll come here to cut the bust that. So by cutting out this bust that, you can cut it out or you can cover it up. That's, you can just use your pattern to close it up. But I'm going to cut it out. I want it out completely so that I can close it. So having done this, so now you bring this like this. Okay, so now that I've got this, can you see that I have a shortage around there because of this that? So you want to tape it down and then you make it as you blend it up. Having done that, I'm now going to blend up my side piece. So I'll just cut it out now. So now this is now our side piece. So you can see that we now have the side, we have closed our bust that. So by closing this bust that, it will make the side back, which we are not going to be cutting because it's just going to be a basic side back. And I've done so many, I've posted videos of how to draft your basic side back. So basically this will now make the two sides, that's the front side piece and the back side piece, to match up. Okay, so I'll bring in my yoke now. Can you see? So by the time I sew them together, can you see that they are all matching up? So if we had not replaced back this 1 inch, this is where this side piece would have stopped. So we thereby making us to have a shortage. So you don't want to have any shortage. So whatever that you remove, you have to replace it back so that it's to, this is to avoid any shortages. So right now, to cut out my main fabric, I'll be placing this on my main fabric. This is going to be Ankara. This will be cut on fold. I'll be adding 1/2 inch to this side. I'll be adding 1/2 inch. Remember I said it will be cut on fold. I'll be adding 1/2 inch to this side for joining it to the side piece. I'll add 1/2 inch at the upper part too. For this part, I'll add 1/2 inch to this side also, and then 1/2 inch at the upper part. Then I'll come here to add 2 inches. I'll add 1/2 inch to this side, which is the armhole area where I'll be joining the sleeve to the, that's joining the sleeve to the bustier. So I'll be adding 1/2 inch to this side, 1/2 inch to this side, 1/2 inch to this side, and 2 inches to this side. Okay, so for the yoke, I'll come here too. It's going to be cut on fold. I'll be using the lace fabric. I'll add 1/2 inch at the down part, and I'll also come here and add 1/2 inch for joining the sleeve. So I'll place my fabric and cut it out and show us. So as you can see, I've cut out my patterns. You can see this is our center piece and these are the side pieces. I've also gone ahead to apply my stay on it, on the fabric, and then I've attached I've ironed my part to it. Look at the way I cut the part. The part started from the under bust point, and see, and I came down on the neckline too by 1/2 inch. I posted a video on how to pad your straight cut. So this is not a new video. So if you don't know how to pad your straight cut, I'll drop the link in the comments, in the description box, so that you can check it out. So now that I've done this, and I also have my yoke, Now I want to show us something so that we can see the places I added my sewing allowance. Can you see that by placing this on this, the side piece, by placing the side piece, can you see that I have my half inch here? I also have my half inch here, and then I have my 2 inches for sewing allowance here by the side. Can you see? That's what I have. So of course it's the same thing as this one. So this is our center piece. Can you see that when I place my center piece here in the middle, and you see I have my half inch up here, and I also have the half inch here on the side. So I added half inch round on this center piece pattern, and then I added half inch on this side, and then 2 inches here, half inch here also. So this is my yoke. You can see I cut two pieces of this because one will serve as the lining for the other. It's a very soft lace, so by even using the lace as the lining, it will make it not to be so revealing. Can you see? Imagine that I have one, it's more revealing compared to the other. If you don't want yours to be revealing, you can double it like this, or you use net, that's net fabric, as your lining. So now look at this. Let me put this aside. This is my yoke now. Can you see? This is my yoke. So this is the pattern. Can you see now that I'm placing it? Can you see that my sewing allowance, half inch is showing up everywhere? So if you look at this part now, it's no longer narrow like it was. So by the time I take half inch on this side and half inch on this side, that's when it will bring me back to this tiny part that I have here. So can you see that I added my half inch on both sides? That's for this. Of course, I cut it on fold, so the half inch reflected on both sides. So that's the next thing to do now. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I'll be joining it like this. I'm going to make sure that the underbust points are matching up. It's very important. You want to make sure that the underbust points are matching up. You can even go ahead to notch it if you want to. My own case is very obvious, so there's no how I can miss it. So you're going to sew, I'm going to sew it on half inch all the way to this point. I'll be starting from below, so I will show us how to sew it. So this is how I'm going to be sewing my bustier. Can you see this is the center piece? Now I'm picking this side. This side from where I'm sitting, this is my right and this is my left, okay? So now I'll pick the left first and I'll place it on top of it like this. So remember that I've notched the underbust. So remember I'm sewing on half inch, which is the sewing allowance that I added. Like this. So after sewing, I went ahead to trim a little, that's to reduce my sewing allowance. So you can see. So after doing that, you need to notch it so that it can allow it to relax. Now I want to iron. So this is what we have before ironing. Cast on your hand like I'm doing. And then you open up the seam line. So you open up the seam line and use your steam iron. If you don't have a steam iron, use your normal iron, but just try to sprinkle water on it. So when you do that, you'll be able to iron it effortlessly. Like I'm doing, this is before I'll add the stay to it. Can you see this part? Can you see how it is looking smooth now? So you just come here to the front also and still press this front. So you iron this part so that it lays flat on the table like this. So after doing that, I'm going to carry my hay stay now, or paper stay, to keep this place open. Hay stay, I'm using paper gum. It can be straight or it can be rounded. Just cut what will be enough to cover up this place. So you use it to hold this point down. This is to keep it open because of course this is the wrong side of your cloth. You're going to be sewing, you're going to be washing your cloth, wearing your clothes. So you don't want the seam line to get closed. So you want it to remain open like that. So we'll do this now. Press it from the good side. So from the good side. So can you see how it's looking like somebody's bust? So what we'll do now, I'll go ahead and do this other side, then I'll show us the finished outcome. So this is what we have after pressing the bustier. Can you see how this place, the under post, is sitting well? So with this, sometimes if you don't even like, if you don't even want to wear bra, you can use your you can wear your bustier like this without bra, because the cup is the cup or the breast part is sitting really well. You can see how the under bust part is going down inside, so and it's giving the bust that lift. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to bring in our yoke. I've already gone ahead to turn the neckline, so I will show us how to sew the yoke to this bust here. So we have our yoke. I want to fix it to this part of the bust here. Can you see? This is what we're supposed to have when we are done. So if you notice, I've gone ahead to notch the center piece. What I did, my sewing allowance is 1/2 inch. That's for this part. And I notched it in by a little more than 1/4 inch. I didn't use all the whole 1/2 inch. So this is just a little more than 1/4 inch. So now what I'm supposed to do is this. We'll bring this, the yoke now. I'm bringing down the yoke to this point. That you bring it in like with like 1/2 inch. Can you see? This is my yoke now. So you just push it down in a little like this. Okay, that's by like 1/2 inch. So I'll come here now and pin this point. So when I pin this point, it will now allow me flip this part to this side. So I'll go ahead to now pin it from this side. And then also pin it. And also pin it. So now I haven't pinned this part. So I can now comfortably remove this pin and make sure that this center, this extra, this 1/2 inch I said you should push up, is well arranged here. So you want to be very careful. So I'm going to just pin it here like this. Okay, so I have pinned it down. So I'm going to be sewing. I had to pin it on the wrong side because it's easier to sew it from the wrong side. I'm seeing my 1/2 inch seam allowance. So now I'll go ahead to start sewing it. Come here and stop at the very center. That's the part where I notched. I'm going to come here and stop. So you don't need to fortify at that point. So just stop at the middle there. So now that I've stopped there, can you see what I have? So I've comfortably sewn this side well. So now you want to sew this other side. So I'll come here now and then flip this way. You want to be very careful when you are doing this. Remember, can you see my 1/2 inch sticking out here? So I'll pin it this way. After sewing this side, this is what I have. So now I want to sew this other side. So remember that I already notched, and you can see my 1/2 inch here sticking out. Okay, so you come here now, you want to turn this yoke now to this side. So because of this notch, this is why it's allowing us turn it effectively. So you come here now to pin this part. And I'll also go ahead to pin. So after doing that, can you see this part? Can you see how this part is shifting? So you want to just be careful with it so that it doesn't give you any problem. So you can just come here and pin this part down. That's to the bustier, so that it can allow you to sew without any issues. So I'm going to be sewing from this side down to this side. Now, why am I sewing from this side down to this side? This lace fabric has
It has some, it's like cordless, so it has a way of pulling on the teeth that's on the feed dog of the machine. Okay, so I'm going to be sewing it from this side now on half inch. So I'll be sewing it towards this point. I'll be sewing it so you 45 at that point. So you take off your pins. Yeah, I'll take off my pin. So after sewing, can you see what we have? See what my sweetheart yoke has given me, and it's sitting really nicely. It's not gathering anywhere, and it gave me the exact shape I want. So if you follow this method, you're going to be able to sew it really well. So now I've also joined my lining, so you can come here now and just notch this point. You can go ahead and notch this point, but I will do that after I've joined my lining. So now the next thing to do is to bring in my lining to sew it. So before I sew my lining, I'll make sure to hold my yoke down on the bustier like this. This is so that it doesn't go in and just cause unnecessary gathering. I don't know how to explain it, but if you experience it, you will understand what I'm talking about. Or if you have experienced it, you understand. So you want to make sure that this is away from there. And then you bring your lining in. This is my lining fabric. I'm going to pin it down to the neckline also like this. You want to make sure that the center, now go ahead to resew on this same line. Please take note, you have to resew on the same line. The highest that can happen, if you come down, let it not just even be up to a bar. Just try to resew on the same line. That's the best thing that will happen. That's the best thing to do. Okay, so I'll be sewing it right now. So I've done that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my pins now. Can you see what I have? I have a very nice effect here, both from the lining side and then from the right side of my sweetheart. Can you see what it is? So I'm just going to go ahead and notch it, then press it and show us what it looks like. So can you see?
Okay, this is what our straight bustier looks like. You can see that it's sitting really pretty, and the yoke is also very relaxed, no place is gathering. So we have come to the end of this tutorial. If you enjoyed making this bustier with me, please kindly like, share this video, comment, and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.